So I saw this video and really wanted an excuse to talk about my favorite video game franchise, so here's my video on... So, the Final Fantasy series has multiple eras that are all incredibly different from each other. There's the pixel era, the 3D era, and then the modern era. I'm going to discuss how to get into all of them. So, Final Fantasy 1 doesn't really have much of a story, but it was the first game in the series, and it's kind of the building blocks for most JRPGs. The story is really simple. It's 4 Warriors of Light are tasked by the king to go save the planet by stopping the 4 fiends and stopping all the natural disasters that plague the world. It does have some weird kind of time travel stuff going on, but pretty easy to understand, and not really much of characters because none of the characters are even named. So, Final Fantasy IV is essentially when story became a big thing. All the characters are named, and you can't just swap them out whenever. The story essentially follows this character of Cecil, who starts out as a Dark Knight for this pretty evil kingdom that he always believed was good, and eventually he redeems himself and becomes a paladin after realizing all the terrible stuff that his kingdom did. There's a lot of interesting things. All the characters are named, all of them are really likable and loved. It is a 30-year-old RPG though, so there's not any voice acting, and it's a lot of text to read, and it is pretty difficult because Cecil resets his level halfway through the game when he stops becoming a Dark Knight. Final Fantasy VII isn't just the biggest game in the series, it is debatably the biggest JRPG to ever release. It introduced the series to 3D on the PlayStation 1, birthing the 3D era, and also made the most iconic characters in the series, with Cloud Strife, Tifa, Barret, Vincent Valentine, and of course, the debatably most notorious villain in all of video games. Final Fantasy VII is probably the easiest game in the series to get into because there's so much content around it and fan base. Final Fantasy VII has multiple spin-offs, and it has a prequel game where you find out Sephiroth is best friends with Gact, so if you like Visual Kei, you'll enjoy that. There's also a movie and so much more. And speaking of Gact, if you like Visual Kei and especially Gact, he is referenced or just appears in this game series a lot. I think Final Fantasy XV is the perfect modern era game to get into the series with. It has, in my opinion, some of, if not the most likable characters in the entire series, and it has a fun, very interesting story that will make you feel a lot of different emotions. It's not perfect by any means, it has a lot of issues, but not super bad ones that make the game unplayable or anything. The combat is a little wonky, but for everything that it is, I think it's a perfect way to get into the modern games. And there's just a lot of content you can enjoy. There's a tie-in anime and a tie-in movie. So for some final notes, you could also play Final Fantasy XIV, but that is an MMO and is very different from the rest of the series. Play literally any Final Fantasy game you think looks interesting. I just explained the ones that I think are the best to start the series with personally. Because none of the games are connected unless they share a number, like Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X-2. Those are connected, but none of the rest are. So, yeah, thank you for watching if you did, and bye!